One. Hello, Internet peeps. Welcome to another edition of Big Trouble in Little Podcast. I am Joe Dubs.
And I'm the other one, Andy.
The other one. So, instead of having 2 movies per month, we're going to have a fucking movie every episode because we're that fucking damn good and excited to watch movies.
We talked about it after the last episode, and we realized that is where we have the most fun, and it's about us. We're doing this for us. We're glad you guys listen, but, I mean, it's about us.
This is the Us podcast, not Big Trouble in Little Podcast. But by the way, this is episode 10. So 10 episodes of this podcast is out on YouTube. And hopefully we will bring it over to iTunes. But I want to have a little more audience before we do that, because there's a lot of work on trying to get it onto iTunes. And then when you have to get noticed, you have to get ratings and then people reviewing about it. So I just don't want to do all that work and have
I got tired just listening to you describe that. I don't even.
Yeah, because I don't feel like doing that. And then one person's like 4 stars, they were great, and it's like us doing a review.
Yeah.
So anyway, let's get right into this episode. So get strapped in and get ready for Big Trouble in the Little Podcast, where only dreams can kill a dream. Andy, what the hell have you been watching or playing or whatever you did this week?
Yeah, I played some more Yakuza, but I talked about that last time. Gundam Versus came, but it came today. I didn't get it release day because I ordered it too late and Amazon was lazy, but they did get it to me a day ahead of what they said they would. So, I don't know. I'll talk about that next week. I watched all the Blade Runner shorts in preparation for the new Blade Runner movie. There's 3 of them.
Oh, yeah? Now, is this live action or a cartoon?
2 of them are live action. Have you heard? Do you know anything about them?
No, because tell you the truth, I'm not a big Blade Runner fan. I appreciate the first movie.
Tut.
But I like the second movie visuals, so that's why I'm excited.
Well, the shorts are all really cool and all really short, and they got me hyped up for the movie. There's basically the first one took place in 2019, right? When did the first one take place? I think it was 2019, and then the new one takes place in 2049. Well, there's a couple big events that happened between then and now that they kind of take care of in these 3 shorts, and it was the director and whoever Warner Films oversaw it, but for the most part they just handed, I think, a story point to people and they made them. The first one's an anime, which is really cool, and it's directed by I'm gonna say his name wrong, Shinichiro Watanabe. I think that's it. It's got that extra I in it, and I always screw it up. Shinichiro Watanabe, the guy who did Cowboy Bebop, Samurai Champloo, a bunch of other great stuff. But I mean, Bebop is his claim to fame, and it's It's about 13 minutes long, and it's excellent. There's some characters in it, and it's only 13 minutes long, so it's not like they get to develop those characters. But the action and the animation is fantastic, and it explains how something happens that is relevant to the story later on. It's really cool. And then the other 2 are live action. The first one takes place in 2036, and it's called I don't know. The first one's called Blackout. The last one's called Nowhere to Run. I can't remember the second one. I think Nexus Dawn, maybe, but it heavily features Jared Leto's character, and it is great. It's really creepy, and it part of it, I kind of had a knot in my throat, like I was watching a horror movie, because it was it's a little suspenseful, and you don't know what'll happen. But it's only 6 minutes long. The last one, Nowhere to Run, features Batista's character. He's just doing stuff, and then he beats some guys up. That's the gist of the plot. But what happens in it, I'm pretty sure, sets up the next movie. It takes place in 2048, and then the new one, of course, takes place in 2049. They're all super short. If you have any interest in Blade Runner, you should check them out, because they're all free on YouTube.
And by the way, I never thought about the all-star lineup that they have. You got Batista, you got Jared Leto, you got Ryan Gosling, and Harrison Ford.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I hope this film does good. I hope it gives it.
I hope so too. It rests very heavily on the director, and of course, none of the shorts are directed by the guy, so we still haven't really seen what this guy's direction is like. I can't remember what else he's directed, but he's not a nobody, but he hasn't done anything huge, which is good. That's fine. I'm real anxious. Like, I guess the advanced screenings started happening, like for critics and industry assholes, and so far everyone has been saying it's good, but I don't know. I don't trust reviews that much, but it is a good sign. So far so good on that one. I'm going to the midnight for it. I'm using air quotes midnight because midnights aren't at midnight anymore. They're at like 7 the day before. But anyway, I haven't done that in more than a decade. It was like Batman Dark Knight the last time I saw a movie opening night. So
Like
I was
Joker
excited
Dark
to do
Knight?
that. What's that?
Like Joker Dark Knight or
Yeah.
Bane?
Yeah, Dark Knight, the second one.
Okay.
But it's been that long. I'm excited enough that I want to go see it. I don't want anyone to spoil it. I don't want anyone to have a sideways kind of, oh, well, don't get used to this character, or yeah, Harrison Ford is killing off all his characters, wink wink, nudge nudge. I don't want any spoilers. I just want to go see it for myself. So
Well, Ryan Gosling is actually Harrison Ford's kid.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, that's I don't want to know anything. So obviously we'll be talking a lot more about that next week. I don't want to spend a bunch of time talking about Blade Runner now and then next week want to talk about nothing but Blade Runner.
Nice, and I can't wait for that film. Like I said, we talked about it last week on how everybody was loving that.
Yep.
Hopefully, Blade Runner is right behind him, having a good movie. We haven't had good movies in a while. Come to think of it, during the summer,
Hollywood has been super hit or miss, and it's mostly been miss. I'm glad to see some hits.
Mm-hmm. And then obviously in December you're gonna have Star Wars: The Last Jedi, which usually is going to be good, and I cannot wait to see how Rian Johnson does it before J.J. Abrams gets the 9th episode. Anyway, what I've been up to is something more morbid. I've been watching a lot of serial killer documentaries. I watched a lot of Jeffrey Dahmer, the Zodiac Killer, the what do you call it? The Son of Sam, the one that happened in the 70s in New York.
Mm-hmm.
It's just something like, I want to know what goes inside these killers' heads when they do all this stuff, because most of the time, you have like Son of Sam was apparently a part of a cult that a dog told him to go kill people. Jeffrey Dahmer apparently was just fascinated that picking apart animals' insides made him curious to see what human insides look like. And then one thing led to another, and where he wanted to keep their heads in refrigerators and eat them so that his victims could be part of him in some way, in some sick way like that.
So they were all batshit crazy, is what you're saying.
I think the most out there one is the Zodiac Killer, because they never caught the guy.
Yeah.
And they had many suspects, but no evidence to put on those suspects. And I think there was one suspect called Arthur Lee Allen that was like their prime suspect, because he could write with both hands or something like that, and he had a watch that had the zodiac symbol on there that was on his letters that he wrote. There was one night where 2 people died by a lake, and he also went to that same lake, and when he came home he was all bloodied with a bloody knife and everything, and he said he cut chickens up for a barbecue. Like, in this day and age, I think they would get locked up, and obviously our science is more better in this time than it was back in the 60s and all that. But I also watched a movie that had I'm gonna fucking butcher. I'm just gonna say one of the McDonald's brothers from The Founder, and then the Hulk from the Avengers movie was in it. Because I'm too lazy to go look right now. But it was a good movie. Like, it took each victim's stories and said it accurately instead of making it more Hollywood in some way. I think the only Hollywood that was there was pretty much the cartoonist who was writing the book, and the conversations that were happening between the police departments and all that stuff. So like that was more of the Hollywood, but seeing like the two couples get tied up on by the lake and getting stabbed to death, and then like the one where they're in Lover's Lane and he comes up behind them and shoots them with a Luger, like all that was accurate, and pretty much they got the story from the victims that were alive, which were mostly males. All the females died right away, so he must have something against females. But that's what I've been up to. I haven't been playing any games. Kind of, when you get home from work, the only thing you want to do is lay around and watch something instead of just diving into a game.
Sure.
Yeah, because you get lazy. You don't want to think about a story or fight enemies.
Yeah, I love games, but you have to be engaged in a game, and on the other hand, I just put something on and doze and be lazy. So.
I mean, maybe I should, play Sonic or something, because that's pretty much straightforward, and I don't have to.
Totally, you should do it.
Yep, I should. But anyway, let's get into our movie that we're going to be talking about, Monsters. So, Andy, I'm gonna, since you just pretty much finished the movie, I finished it like 20 minutes ago. I want your opinion first.
I liked it. It's not a masterpiece or anything, but it is a super entertaining 94 minutes. For me, the most entertaining part about it is just like the setting. Like 6 years ago, NASA discovered the possibility of life in our solar system. They don't say where. They send out a probe, it gets something, and then when it's coming back to Earth, it breaks up in re-entry over Mexico. And now northern Mexico and the most southern part of the United States is full of like terrible, they look like giant octopuses. They're kind of Cthulhu looking scary space monsters.
Mm-hmm.
And like that's all kind of interesting. And the fact that both militaries are on both sides, and there's like during part of the movie, they're with some guys that are trying to get them north of the wall, and it's obviously reminiscent of like coyotes, like people who do that for Mexicans now, trying to smuggle people into the United States. And that's interesting, and it revolves around a photographer. I guess he's working for a newspaper or a magazine, and his boss's daughter is in Mexico. And a hotel collapses, I guess, in one of those attacks from one of the monsters.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, you need to get her home. And for some reason, they can't fly. So I don't get that. And then they try to take a boat. And then I don't want to ruin the whole movie, because it is worth watching. It is a really good movie. But some stuff happens. Someone makes some mistakes. And then they end up having to like go through the zone. And it's kind of safe, but it's also kind of extremely dangerous. And I don't know, like the effects aren't great, but I think a big part of the reason Gareth Edwards got as popular as he did is this movie had a budget of $500,000 and it made at the box office $4.2 million.
Mm-hmm.
So that's more than 8 times the budget that they made back, and Hollywood loves that kind of stuff. For those that don't know, Gareth Edwards went on to direct the new Godzilla movie, the one in 2014, I think it was, that had really cool monsters, effects, and set pieces, but was very, very lacking in character development. And then he went to go make Rogue One, which was a fun movie and very lacking in character development. And this movie, by the way, was lacking in character development. So I don't know if there's a trend with this guy, but it's probably lacking in character development.
It just didn't show enough emotion between the two characters. Like it
did it in like bursts. Like at the end when he calls his kid, like that's cool, but it's like it's the end of the movie. You should have done this earlier. Like I care about the guy, but it's too late.
Mm-hmm. Like the dialogue, like I understand they're in this dire situation and all that stuff, but he tried to be funny, but then it's like he went back to his monotone thing. He's like, well, there's a creature in your room. You want me to let me in? Like, I understand he was drunk.
Well, he was drunk in that scene.
Yeah.
I give that a little bit of, all right, whatever.
Yeah, but he was also that, like, when he was at the Spanish lady's house, he was like, oh, thank you. What is that? Oh, food?
Yeah, he
Gracias.
sounds tired the whole movie, which, if he was tired, that would make sense. But this is a movie. Yeah.
And
Like, the acting is, it's passable. It's okay, in my opinion. Like, I wasn't wowed by either the lead actor or actress.
mhm.
It told the story okay.
Yeah, the female, you can obviously tell she's a little inexperienced in a
Hmm.
sense. She kind of looks like they grabbed her off the street, which they probably did. Because looking at her IMDb, she only done a few movies that I don't know of.
Yeah, she's done a lot of small stuff, a lot of TV shows. She's pretty, so that's something. But and she can act passably. Like, I don't think she's going to be the head actress in anything big.
Yeah, and the backstory was kind of like how you said character development was kind of lame in a sense, because like you understand she was engaged, but she didn't really show it. Like she was what? No, I'm fucking it up now. Um, she was engaged. You didn't really learn about her husband that much, just based off of the ring. Um,
I liked that a little bit. I didn't want. The other side of the coin is it's a monster movie. I don't want to hear about people the whole damn time. But, they have to do something with character development.
well, even though that was the whole movie anyway, because you don't really see the creature. You see the creatures dead throughout the film. You see him on top of houses, and you're like, he's like, the part where she's like, "Well, you ever seen one live or take a picture of them?" He's like, "Nah, only dead."
Yeah.
And I was like, that's interesting. Like I like the journey that they had from Mexico to America, because there was one line that I liked from Andrew was like, man, it's pretty weird seeing America from the outside in, you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's a cool scene. I like that when they're sitting on top of the pyramid looking at the wall.
Mm-hmm. And like you said, the creatures were Cthulhu like. There was one scene that like annoyed me a little bit when the people were like, "Oh, the trees are aliens," and they're like, "What?" And they shine a light on it, and he's like, "Well, why is the trees infected?" And then they explain that you know the trees are reproducing these creatures, and it goes into the water, and then boom, you have a creature.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, if this is the infected zone and this is where they're reproducing, then why aren't we fucking lighting it on fire or bombing it?
Well, they said that the American jets come and, like, bomb them sometimes, and whenever they do, the creatures get all pissed off. Like, it's been 6 years. I have to assume that they've been bombing these places nonstop since then, but they're trying to be real specific. Plus, there's that, like, there's that sign when they're in the Mexican town talking about no bombing, and I gotta think, like, the middle of the infected zone, I'm sure, is devoid of people, but, like, there's a lot of the creatures that keep breaking out into the normal areas and stuff, and they can't bomb them there because then they'll kill all these civilians. They got to take them down with, like, conventional weapons, which is what you see in kind of the prologue a little bit. Like, there's one near some soldiers, and they use they use their conventional weapons, and then a Hellfire rocket from, like, a helicopter or an aircraft or something. And
Without spoiling anything, did you link the end with the beginning?
yeah, the soldiers singing. Yeah,
Yeah, it's like I had to rewatch the beginning where part I was like, oh, it's them.
yeah.
I see it. So like, and I actually thought of something. I'm trying not to spoil anything, but when they're at the gas station and you see these things, and you're like, is it trying to link the creatures with the human, with these two main characters in some way? Is that like
Yeah, I
a
don't know. That scene, like, went on too long. I thought, like, it was cool, and then it got boring really fast. Like, it
like
needed to be half as long.
I don't understand like why the tentacle thing was touching the TV and like it was getting energy from it somehow.
I was thinking about that too. I think that they were, like, attracted to light, kind of, because they were also attracted. Remember when they were in the jeeps? He, like, covered up the dome light
Mm-hmm.
on their vehicle, and it left them alone. I think it's attracted to lights because those eggs send off light, or not the eggs, the things that look like mushrooms. they send off light too. Like whenever they would shine a flashlight at it, it would like respond or whatever. So I think they're wild animals. They're not intelligent or anything. I think they would like look for light because light is where like the kids are, and then the two of them were like I don't know, like greeting each other with like light or something. I think light is how those creatures were communicating because presumably they're from further out in the solar system where less light is reaching. Maybe I don't know. This is all. I kind of like that about this movie is that they don't like. There's not a news broadcast or a documentary that explains everything.
Or
Like
a scientist telling you what's about these creatures.
It's about these two people in this situation. That's it. It's not a documentary, and you have to figure this stuff out. Like it's happening to them. It's around them, and you're seeing it from their viewpoint, and they don't know what's going on. So why would you? And I like that a lot. Like that. Honestly, that's probably one of my favorite elements of the whole movie is that they don't dump it in your lap. It's like, hey, they're in a dangerous situation. They don't know anything, so neither do you.
And the creatures, they must be blind then, because the guy was sitting at the gas station and he was the thing was on top of the fucking building.
Yeah, I think they see light or something. Maybe I don't know. Like maybe whenever like a rifle gets fired, it creates light, and they go for that or something. I'm not sure.
Well, there was a scene. Remember before they got drunk off the tequila and beers and all that stuff. She was like, let's not go out. That's when the creatures go out.
Yeah.
Maybe it's easier for them to see in the dark because, when you flash a light, you could go in that direction. Think about
it pinpoints. Like during the day, they probably can't navigate. See, this is why the movie's good. If someone would watch it for themselves, this is the kind of revelation that makes the movie fun. It is a fun movie. Like I said, it's not brilliant. I don't think it won many awards or anything, and its budget was small, but it is good. It's a genuinely good movie. If you have Netflix, then you should absolutely check it out if you like giant monsters and alien invasion movies.
Yeah, and one more thing. The gas mask. What were they trying to, like, were they afraid that it was spreadable in some way?
I don't know. I was wondering about that too. Like, they are in an area where there's like all these weird mushroom eggs and shit from outer space, so I can see if I was in that position and I could get a gas mask, I would probably do it too. So I get why, and again, they don't just say why. It's we need gas masks because there's spores in the air and it'll fuck your lungs up or something like that. They don't tell you, but I guess I get it.
Maybe
I noticed in the background there were signs that were like gas masks $50 and stuff like that too. That was a nice touch.
I think it's more of the Mexican side, because if you look at the American side, I don't think any of the soldiers had any gas mask on.
The soldiers did not have gas masks. I noticed that too, but I think SOP is for them to be carrying gas masks. So maybe they had them with them? I don't know.
But yeah, it was actually talking with you about this movie. I kind of appreciate it a little more.
Yeah.
Just while I was watching it, I was like, these characters are boring the shit out of me. And
yeah, honestly, I think I like everything I like about the movie is like, how to put this? It's you could take those two characters out and plunk any other two characters back into the movie, and I would still like it just as much. I think is what I'm trying to say. Like the characters, you needed to see the movie from someone's perspective, so that's fine. It could have been a couple on vacation trying to get home, or it could have been two best friends, or it could have been something else. And I think I would have got just as much out of this movie.
Mm-hmm. And the world was like, not the world. It's about the world that they're living in now because of the creatures and everything. So that was amazing. And
this movie has a sequel. Huh.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I just discovered that.
That's interesting.
Yeah, it's not directed by the same guy, obviously.
But another thing to bring up is the part where they're trying to get to America, and the guy was like, "Oh, in order to get a ferry, it's like $5,000," and like they point to the people like, "Well, what are these people doing?" And they're like, "Oh, they're going through the quarantine zone." And in my mind, I thought the quarantine zone was like the cheap route because that's how they presented it in the beginning. And then in the next time they knew, because eventually he lost a passport and everything, and he's like, oh no, I have to hire these people. I have to worry about your safety. It's going to cost around $10,000.
Yeah,
I'm thinking because they're American, that's why he did that.
maybe. I mean, that kind of thing does happen in Mexico, apparently. Like, you'll get extorted by officials. It's like you'll be stopped on the street by police, and they're like, oh, this is going to require a large fine. You're supposed to be like, hey, can I settle the fine right now? And then that's you saying, will you take a bribe? You know, that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. Anyway, go see it. It's on Netflix, guys. And next week's movie, we are going to be talking or watching and talking. They Look Like People. It's a thriller, a psychological thriller. It's amazing. I watched it already, so
I have not.
So let's see what Andy thinks about it next week. But again, the news is kind of scarce again this week. I don't know what's up. I mean, maybe they're waiting for all these games to come out so that we'll have news about, like, you know, day one patches and shit. And let me just exit out of this thing real quick because I have the movie running. But the first part of news is, if the thing likes to cooperate here, I'm just going to transition it. Is IGN and WWE are going to be doing an event, and it has esports in it. And
so I know absolutely nothing about this. So you're going to be telling me and the audience what the hell this is.
So Up, Up, Down, Down has Austin Creed, which is pretty much Xavier Woods. And on WWE's YouTube, he has, like, the wrestlers compete against each other in Madden and Rocket League and all that stuff.
I watched a couple episodes. It's always a hoot.
Mm-hmm. So you have, like, AJ Styles, Charlotte, Sasha Banks, everybody that you know in the WWE facing against each other, having fun, having a good time. So they're planning an event, IGN and WWE, to face each other in an esports showdown. So I'm guessing Rocket League is going to be part of it, probably some fighting games. I think Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite. I know maybe Madden might be in it because I know AJ Styles loves Madden. So things that are answered in this article. It says, how can I attend? Easy. The show general admission tickets are just free. Just head over to this page and wherever it's being held, you can go there. Limit attendees have to be 18 or older. Space is limited, apparently. So I guess if you're a big WWE fan, it might fill up quickly. So be aware of that. And if you're in town but not going to New York Comic Con, have no fear. New York City Comic Con badge is not required. So looks like this is going to happen during New York Comic Con. So it's going to be in New York. So that just answered my question. So the showdown will be held at the Garage. I'm guessing that's a place, which is located on this address, 61 West 50th Street in New York City. Doors are open at 6 p.m. Eastern Time. So who's going to be at the event? And then in the article it says, glad you asked. WWE stars to set and attend are AJ Styles, Sasha Banks, Cesaro, New Day's Kofi Kingston, and apparently there's going to be surprises. So I'm going to go with Samoa Joe and Big Show since they are big gamers. So that'll be cool. New Day's Xavier Woods will also be on hand as the Showdown's general manager. While Kind of Funny, Greg Miller will be hosting the event. IGN's Max Scoville will be offering commentary over the showdowns, while Alex, the Golden Boy, Mendez will be shoutcasting the event. So it looks like they're going to have like a wrestling commentating team. That's cool.
That's funny.
And if you can't join the event, don't worry, because there's gonna be a streaming sites going on: Twitter, YouTube, Twitch, Apple TV, Roku, goddamn it, PS4, Xbox One, Pluto TV, Wuri TV network, and IGN's mobile apps on iOS and Android. So pretty interesting. I love when they have these like panels and events because usually it's all good and fun and everything. Like I said, I don't know what games. They didn't say anything, so I'm thinking. You ever watched the show Arena on G4 TV?
Negative.
They used to do like random games. They would like have a sports game and then a shooting game, and then they had like a main game, whatever like game was coming out. So maybe whatever new games that are out will be in the showdown. You have any opinions?
I mean, not yet. I haven't seen it.
Or what did you see in Up Up Down Down?
I mean, it's always interesting. I haven't seen every episode or anything. I've watched like two and a half.
What were they? Do you know?
I think I feel like one of them was a Star Wars Battlefront.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember what the other one was.
What's great about Xavier Woods is that he does like these superstar interviews, and he plays like whatever the guest wants to play. Like Stephanie McMahon was on there. I think she played Streets of Rage.
Huh.
Just no. It was TMNT. Streets of Rage was with Cesaro, and then I know Windjammers was with Bailey. So he does a lot of like old school games, or a lot of the superstars choose old school games, which is really cool. And then he has his showdowns where Seth Rollins is like the 2-time Madden champion. So that's cool. Andy, did you hear about the Nintendo's Creators Program?
Yeah, it's garbage.
Yeah, we'll no longer let YouTubers live stream games.
Yeah, it gets worse and worse, pretty much.
Like, I don't understand what they're worried about and why they want to ban these streams. Like, this is free advertising for the games.
Nintendo is super out of touch with like what the hell the entire world is doing at all times. It takes them a decade to like the 2 systems down the road, they will finally have something in there that'll be like, oh, you can also stream online. Like they think it's bad, and I don't know why. I'm pretty sure it's because there's some old guys in a boardroom somewhere that they see a blurb on a report or something about Twitch streaming. Oh, we got to stop that. We have to stop that. Companies like that, the way they make decisions is there's 14 old assholes who haven't played games ever, and they have to make the decisions. And if one of them says no, then it's no.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. And that whole program, like, I remember when they announced it, I remember thinking, oh, maybe this is a step in the right direction. And it's super archaic, and all the rules are dumb. And I think they provide free stuff to some people, but only if you're, like, real popular and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Maybe it works for someone. Maybe there are people who are on that program and they really dig it. But, man, it would be real hard to defend it.
So here's one of the emails that got sent to one of the creators, the Nintendo creators. Thank you for using the Nintendo Creators Program. We have updated the Nintendo Creators Program user guide with information on how revenue generated during live stream broadcasts on YouTube will be handled in Nintendo's Creator Program. Live streaming on YouTube falls outside the scope of Nintendo's Creators Program. This means that you cannot broadcast content on YouTube Live from the account you have registered to the Nintendo's Creators Program. Please check the user guide for details. Thank you for ongoing support of the Nintendo Creators Program, as yada 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 is pretty much saying.
Yeah.
So it's like, hey, welcome, and we're gonna like change policy, and oh, by the way, if you do this, you're gonna get banned, or we'll take you off the Creators Program.
Mm-hmm.
It's stupid. And then here's like more responses. So if you registered your channel under Nintendo's Creator Program, you're no longer, obviously that's the main reason why this article is written. So it's just a bunch of people complaining.
And this comes down pretty much 1 month before Mario Odyssey drops.
Yeah. And I understand like the embargo and all that stuff. Is this like the lazy way out and be like, all right, since I don't want to monitor all your guys' streams and stuff, I'm just going to say, fuck you. You can't do it anymore.
I mean, people who aren't in the program are presumably still going to do it. It's not going to stop anything. It's out of touch and stupid.
Mm-hmm. As a lot of people said in their tweets, stupid or bullshit.
Yeah.
And I think they're just greedy on the advertising revenue mostly. But like this is free advertising for their game anyway. So
Yeah,
it's
it
like
absolutely is.
it's like a win-win for both sides.
They
If
don't see it that way, and they probably won't for a long time.
yeah. Well, that's all I wanted to talk about. I wanted to hear your opinion. I read this. I listened to a lot of podcasts talk about it,
Yeah.
and they pretty much said what you said is that they're out of touch. Like this is first they go to
Yeah,
they go
I love Nintendo. I'll go on record all the time saying I like Nintendo products. I got a Switch at launch, which is not something I would normally do with consoles. I didn't do it with my PS4. I didn't do it with much other stuff. I like Nintendo, but I'll be the first one to admit that as a company, they have not got their shit together.
Mm-hmm.
So I hope the best for them. I really hope they figure it out. I hope they make good decisions, just like they make good games. They're halfway there, but
2 steps
sheesh, come on,
forward,
man.
5 steps back.
Yeah.
And it's retarded. Anyway, that's all the news. Like I said, it's pretty scarce until all these games come out and we hear about their day one patches, how there's bugs, how this game is not,
Absolutely
fully made.
This is the calm before the holiday storm. The end of October, it ramps up and it stays up until what, like the second week of December, maybe.
Yep, and then obviously you have your Call of Duties that are coming out.
Yeah.
Battlefront 2 is coming out in November, and then eventually you have the movie come out. So,
Yep.
like you said, it's a calm before the storm. It just, I looked through all the news, and I'm just like, this is boring. This is boring to talk about because
That's what we're trying to get this show down to. That's a big part of why we decided to do a movie every time, because we always find news and other people talking about it, but if it's not interesting, we don't want to talk about it. Like, if something is huge, obviously you can count on hearing our opinions and maybe a couple bullet points about it. We don't want to. If we're bored, we feel like we're going to bore you, whoever's listening. So that's not what we want to do. We want to be entertaining. So that's why there's been a couple subtle shifts. We'll keep shifting until we find the perfect one.
Yeah, our main thing is that we don't want to be a news station. We're not going to hear be like, oh, Red Dead 2 came out with a trailer. Let's take a look at it. Unless it's like we are both invested in that game to see what is, new or old and all that stuff.
Oh, but speaking of that, they did come out with a trailer, and it was great, and I'm excited.
But I haven't seen it yet because I didn't play the first Red Dead. I wasn't really interested.
Oh, you son of a bitch! That is my favorite game from the last generation of game consoles. That is the best one.
I heard the main character's not in it, apparently.
Who cares?
That's what I said to my friend at work. He was like, oh, the main character's not in it. And he was upset about it. I'm like, but that's good. That means we're getting new story. Like,
yeah, I want new story. I want new characters. I want new side missions. I want new locations, which apparently there are. New everything.
Mm-hmm. And hopefully the online will be better than what the...
Yeah, the online was a lot of fun in the last one, but it could have used some tweaks.
I agree. Other than that, like I said, next week's movie is going to be They Look Like People. It is on Netflix, so if you are listening, listeners, go on Netflix and watch that movie because it's a great movie.
And if you have anything you want to say about it, a quick 141 character blurb, I liked this movie, I hated it, this character's an idiot, the effects were good, the story was good, the story was bad, whatever, get a hold of us. Tweet at us, whatever. Find us on Twitch and YouTube, and tell us what you thought. Maybe we'll mention it here next week.
Or comment down below in YouTube.
Yeah, in YouTube. YouTube has comments. I don't know if anyone's ever heard of it. It's a little known feature.
Yep, where you do the little typey type. But like I said, like we're not a news station or anything. But in the future, I think this show will be totally different than what we're doing right now. Like the movie section, I think will be a staple of the show. Other things like I want to have something unique to gaming, not like be like, oh, WWE and IGN are doing esports. I want something that will be creative in some way. We just don't know what it is yet.
It's out there. We're gonna find it. It's in the marble. We're just gonna chisel it out of that sucker.
Mm-hmm. And on that note, guys, thanks for listening to episode 10 of Big Trouble in Little Podcast. Remember to like and subscribe to us on YouTube. And remember, you people, sit tight, hold the fort, and keep the home fire burning. And if we're not back by dawn, call the president. See you guys later.
Or maybe don't keep the fires burning. It attracts monsters.
It attracts those creatures that like light. And then they smell the forest burning. Oh no. We're dead. Bye, everybody.